Hello scrappers and planet lovers, Tin Man here with another video. So today what I want to do is take apart one of these bread makers. Found it on garbage day, unfortunately it doesn't work. And the nice thing about these bread makers is that there is a lot of scrappable material found inside of them. There's a lot of tin shred, there's some cast aluminum, there's a really nice copper bearing motor. And this thing is heavy, it's about 14 pounds, which is great. So what I'm going to do today is show you how to separate the material, how to identify it, and more importantly, how to maximize your profit and divert as much of this away from the landfill as possible. So here we go. For the sake of time, I have already removed a lot of the exterior screws, and what I do is I just collect them up on a magnet. Afterwards, I will put them into a big container, and I will bring them in as steel. The nice thing putting them in a container is that you are preventing them from falling out of your vehicle when you're going to the scrapyard and potentially creating a flat tire for someone else. So that's a great thing there. If I remove the top already, there is a little bit of plastic, but underneath the lid, if I put a magnet to it, you can see it sticks. So this is going to be tin shred. I've already removed the screws. This, unfortunately, is going to be garbage. And the nice thing about tin shred is tin shred right now is at an all-time high. It's about $259 a ton Canadian, which is about 10 to 13 cents a pound, depending on your scrapyard. And the reason this is tin shred, one of my viewers asked what the difference between tin shred and steel was. The difference is in terms of thickness. Steel is thicker than a 1/4 inch. It usually pertains to types of structural beams, I-beams, trampoline poles are a good example of steel because they're thicker than a 1/4 inch. And steel is a little bit higher in price than tin shred, but again, I'm not going to complain. This is a great price, and it does not take a lot to add up weight and bring in a big payoff load. So again, some tin shred. Inside of here, I do have my container. This container is where the flour and the dough mixes. If I put a magnet to this, as you can see, it does not stick. And that's because this container is actually cast aluminum. Cast aluminum right now is going for about 60 cents a pound Canadian. It's gone up a little bit in price, which is great. Cast aluminum, a lot of frying pans, some barbecues, you'll find cast. However, if I was to bring this in as is, I'm not going to get clean cast price. And that's because the bottom, if I put a magnet to it, it does stick. There's some steel here. So unfortunately, this would be classified as dirty cast aluminum, which is significantly lower and about 5 cents a pound. So you do have a couple options. The first option is putting it into your dirty cast for 5 cents. Second option is putting it into your tin shred, because there is some tin shred on here, and getting 10 to 13 cents. But better is what I've done, in my opinion. All I've done is taken a grinder, and I've just made 4 cuts, very easily to cut through that. Did not take much of my grinding disc. And as you can see, I've removed, just hit it with a hammer, the rest of it. Now I have a really nice clean piece of cast aluminum. This is about 2.5 pounds. I do have to remove the top lid here, or handle here. This is going to go into steel. But this part is actually going to go into my tin shred. So I'm going to get a little bit higher than my dirty cast. But again, just upgraded, very simple, using 4 incisions for clean cast aluminum. Inside of my panel, anytime you have the buttons, you're going to find circuit boards. I've already removed them. There are 2. And anytime you have buttons like these little guys here, there is a small little bit of silver inside of that. It's not much. I actually don't open those up to take the little silver out of there. I will just throw this circuit board into my e-waste. This one does have on it a relay box. Inside the relay box, there is a small spool of copper, which is great, as well as a silver contact. I love those silver contact boxes. Just to show you, that dot right there, there'll be one of those inside of it. That dot is silver. So what I do is I will cut those off. I'll put them into a little vial, and I will hopefully one day hit it with some nitric acid and make a silver bouillon. In terms of your circuit boards, there are options. And it depends on where you live, what country, what region. Some scrapyards will classify circuit boards into high grade, medium grade, low grade, depending what precious metals and material are on the circuit boards. The higher the precious metal, the higher the value. So your flat screen TVs that have the really nice strip of gold, those would be your high grade, which would be paid for a little bit more. Unfortunately, however, where I go here in southwestern Ontario, there is only one category. It's all put together as e-waste. It's about 5 cents a pound, which is better than nothing and better than going to the landfill. There are other options that you can look at. Boardsource.com online will buy circuit boards depending on where you are. I have not taken that route yet. I still need to look at shipping costs and all that, but people will buy circuit boards online depending on the precious metal content on them. But again, that's something you do want to check on with your scrapyard. But either way, my scrapyard, at least I will still get 5 cents a pound for these. So that's good. Inside, I will actually, first thing, I will remove the pan box here. And the nice thing is inside, if I take this, turn this around, I'm going to dump it upside down. The frame here, this frame, if I put a magnet to it, you can see it is tin shred. The nice thing about that, easy to fold. All I'm going to do is bend it. Once I stand on it, it's going to flatten even more. So again, really easy to put a nice load into my vehicle. So some more tin shred. This outer casing is also, if I put a magnet to it, it is tin shred as well. And there is a little bit of plastic on here. Scrapyards are not going to say anything about the little bit of plastic. It just gets melted off anyway. So you don't have to take off all of your plastic if you're bringing this to the scrapyard for tin shred. There is a small little capacitor here that I will remove, and I do just put that into my e-waste pile. But the rest of this box, the nice thing about this is I use this as a container. I like to use these as well as microwave boxes. I will put a bunch of my smaller tin shred scraps inside of that. Easy to build up weight, easy storage and handling, so that's a great thing. I do have, once I open it up, 2 cords. I have the main appliance cord right here, the one that goes into the wall, as well as some other cords found inside. And the nice thing about appliance cords is there are 2 categories at a scrapyard. There is 40% copper recovery and 60% copper recovery. So you do want to check what type of cord these are. 60% copper recovery right now, cords are going for about $2.13 a pound Canadian. 40% is going for $1.37 a pound. So definitely a real difference in price. And as you can see, I'm going to bring this up to the camera. You can see inside there are 2 copper strands there, as well as just 1 exterior plastic coating. Because there is only 1 plastic coating, there is more copper to plastic ratio, so this would be 60% copper recovery. If I was to open it and the 2 strands had their own individual plastic coating, as well as an exterior plastic coating, there would be more plastic, less copper recovery, and become 40% copper recovery. So all of this is going to go into my 60% copper recovery, which is great. And again, word of caution, if you do have it all together at a scrapyard, the scrapyards do not have time to separate it for you there. They will give you the lower price. So make sure you do separate it as you were scrapping. I also, on the end here, you can see the 2 clean brass prongs. Some people leave these on for the weight. I do actually take them off. I just take a pair of pliers and bend them off. I put these into my yellow brass bucket. Currently, yellow brass is going for about $2.85 a pound. Really not a difference in price difference, but I like to sort it and separate it. But again, it's entirely up to you. The last thing, the money maker, is the copper bearing motor. As you can see inside, if I take it up to the camera, there is some copper inside of here. If I was to bring this to the scrapyard as is, I'm going to get copper bearing motor price, which is about 10 to 15 cents a pound Canadian, which is good. But for a little bit of work, to get that copper out. That copper is going to be a number 2 copper, and it's currently going for $4.30 a pound. So I'm going to do that right now. It's very easy to do. I have to first remove a couple exterior screws. They've got a couple nuts on them that I do have to take off. So I'm going to do that first. And I'm just going to get the screws. Someone asked me about the screws. Do I keep any of my screws? I do. If I need them, if they're in good condition, I do have a separate container. It beats buying them. So I have not had to buy screws in a very long time, which is great. Especially the ones that have the nuts that go with it. You know that they fit together, and I can use those for different things, which is awesome. But most of them, like I said, I already have a huge collection. I just store them up and I will bring them in as steel. Okay, so the cap does come off. This is going to become tin shred. And again, nice thing, I just put it in the bucket here. It adds up weight. This also is tin shred. Here is my nice copper bearing motor. All I'm going to do is actually take a grinder. I'm going to cut down the one side, and then I'm going to put it into my vise and just punch the rest of it out. So I'm going to set up my grinder. I always wear gloves. Make sure I have proper eyeglasses on as well. I want to make sure I cut down on any injury or potential injury. So I'm going to just cut this out right now. So you want to make sure that you actually cut it all out. All I'm going to do, as I said, is just going to now put it into my vise. I'm going to take a punch and just take a hammer. So I'm going to just hit her down there, knock it out. As you can see, it's starting to come out. As well as this. It's very tiny, but it all adds up. Make sure it's secured in my vise. Okay, so there it is. It's going to just slide out. There you go. Some really nice copper here. This is going to go into my tin shred. And as you can see, this all adds up. Some really nice copper here. I am going to take off the wire here, but all I do is I will put it into a bag here. As you can see, this bag is actually 23 pounds of number 2 copper. Again, $4.30 a pound. It adds up quickly, way better than bringing in as copper bearing motors. You do want to check before you start actually scratching or cutting out the copper bearing motor. If you scratch the copper and it reveals underneath a metallic color, it means that it's aluminum. So you do want to check that first. So for example, if I was to cut through, you can see inside of that, if I was to scratch it, that is a nice copper. I do have a piece I'm going to show you here. So I should have checked that first. That is obviously aluminum. So you definitely do not want to put your aluminum with your copper. Make sure you separate it. And the nice thing, because this is going to be number 2 copper, you can leave the little bit of the tape on there, because number 2 copper is copper that has soldering on it. It could have glue on it. It could have paint on it or oil. So you do want to take some of the tape off and stuff, but it is okay to have some on there. Okay, hope you found that video entertaining, informative. Again, lots of great material there, lots of tin shred, a really nice copper bearing motor, some cast aluminum. Please comment down below, like, share, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video. Tin Man out.